I'm here at the Liberty Hotel in Boston at the EMC Annual Industry Analyst event, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that the Syncplicity team is here to talk to them a little bit about some of the progress they've made over the last 15 months and this big announcement that they've made recently on Syncplicity. It's been interesting to watch them. I've been following this market for about 3 years now, and it's been interesting to watch the progress Syncplicity's made in the 15 months since the acquisition. So I'm here with Jeetu Patel, the General Manager of Syncplicity's business unit, and Dave Martin, the Chief Security Officer at EMC. So let's start with Jeetu and find out. Jeetu, can you talk to me a little bit about kind of some of the progress you've made in the last 15 months and some of the key highlights of this most recent announcement?
Sure. So this is, I'll start with the last 15 months. We've actually had a quadrupling of our velocity of innovation. So when we purchased Syncplicity, we used to go out and have a release every 4 to 5 months. We now have one every 3 to 4 weeks. We have our largest release in history of Syncplicity that we're actually having on November 5th. In order to go out and win the hearts and minds of our customers, we're going to have to focus on a couple things. One is we have to go out and build products that users just love to use. And in the absence of that, what happens is they go and revert back to consumer-grade tools, which then exposes IT in a pretty big way, and the organization in a pretty big way. And the second one is we really got to focus on the security and manageability aspects. Because if you don't do those right from a compliance, privacy, protection of information perspective, things don't happen in the right way. And we've identified 3 major priorities in that umbrella to go out and enable that to happen. So the first one is building a frictionless user experience. Second one is making sure that we've got a great security and manageability framework and capability set. And the third one is making sure that we have a complete amount of choice on the deployment model that you use for our hybrid cloud. So if some data wants to stay in the cloud, some data wants to stay on-premise, have a lot of sophistication and configurability over there.
Now, you're playing a very interesting market right now, and it's interesting having Dave here. I mean, Dave, mobility has impacted security in a huge way, and Syncplicity is obviously making some announcements on the administration and control side of the world. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you're concerned about, and then maybe, Jeetu, you can come back with some of the things that Syncplicity is doing to address some of those concerns?
The challenge here over the last 5 to 10 years has been moving from that ability to be fairly prescriptive about control and preventing users from doing the wrong thing and kind of forcing them into the main channel and the major highways so that we get that visibility to our data and we know it's safe. Really, we lost that battle at least 5 years ago. And the challenge has been kind of adopting, finding the middle ground. And to be successful, you have to have a number of things. I need to have that visibility. I need some kind of baseline foundational controls, kind of good authentication, good visibility to where that traffic's going, the ability to store those file objects in different places. At the same time, that's never going to work if this tool isn't kind of exciting and useful to use. I like to say users and data will always find a way. So we have to make them want to use the tool that just happens to be secure rather than hand them a secure tool and try and kind of bully them and encourage them to use it. It has to be better than what's out there. How can it improve their workflow and at the same time not putting the enterprise at risk? So we both want a partner to go use this.
If you think about it from a security and user experience standpoint, historically these have been at odds with each other. If you dial up security, you dial down the user experience and vice versa. And what we found is a way that we've actually, when we dial up security, you're adding value to the user. And that's really unique with what we have. So if you think about it, if I share a file with someone, the ability to have trackability on that file is not only great for Dave, but it's also great for the user, because if I send a proposal to a customer and if the customer hasn't downloaded the proposal, I know that he hasn't downloaded the proposal. I can go out and send him a reminder. So those kind of value adds really help the user in enhancing their experience while making sure that the organization is more secure. Mobile editing is another capability we just added. The way that people used to do it is they would actually open up a file in a different application. So now you've got all of these applications coming in and out, and then you'd save it back to this application. The first thing that went wrong is, the user experience was completely full of friction. You didn't know which applications. You had to have the second application installed, otherwise you have to go to the App Store and download the app. But second is, guys like Dave hated it because now you've lost that document from the secure container into a completely insecure container and lost control of the file. With us, now what we do is we can actually, within Syncplicity, edit the application. You don't have to leave the application. It's always in a secure container. And that makes all the difference in the world, not just from a UX standpoint, but also from a security standpoint. So if you think of the era of innovation of files, right? We think of it as 3 major phases, and we are now finally in the 3rd phase. The first phase was when DOS was out. You had directories and subdirectories. The second phase then was when you had a GUI with Windows and Mac. and you now had folders and subfolders you can share and traverse through. You can do things in mobile much differently and take advantage of some of the capabilities in mobile much differently than the way that you might have done in the second era. And users are going to be far more productive and have a very different concept and a construct of the way that design should work compared to the way that it worked in the second era. And that, we think, is something that is, there's still a shortage in the market of people thinking about mobile first as they're building these capabilities.
You've introduced earlier this year the ability to have on-prem storage with Isilon or Atmos, and now you've got some very interesting policy-based hybrid management control.
Yep.
So, I mean, Dave, how important is it to you as a security officer for a multi-billion-dollar, a huge multinational company like EMC, to ensure that some of the data never leaves the walls of the building? And then, Jeetu, if you can talk a little bit about how Syncplicity addresses it, it would be great.
Sure.
Obviously, not all data is created equal. So it's really important to us that we have kind of absolute control, not only how that's getting access from the cloud, but we have kind of additional layers that remote administrators don't have access to the file just by nature of it being part of this sharing solution. So the ability, transparent to a user, because that's really important. We don't want a user making decisions about what kind of data is this, where do I want to store it, that we can kind of pre-stage those in the policies for different groups of users, different individuals, different types of data, and be deterministic about where we'd like it stored based on the use case or based on the risk of the data.
Security-wise, we feel pretty comfortable that our cloud data is extremely secure. What it is compliance. So at times, there are customers that want to actually go out and make sure that there are certain sets for compliance and data residency perspective or data sovereignty that need to be within a certain geography. Or for performance reasons, I need to make sure that I optimize my data sets differently. Or for cost optimization reasons, there are certain sets of data that need to be in certain storage backends versus other data in other storage backends. And all of those capabilities, whether it be for tweaking based on performance characteristics or based on cost economics or based on data residency, data sovereignty, and kind of compliance requirements, we now have the ability to tweak. And configure exactly the way that the customer wants to have it configured.
I really appreciate having you guys join me here today and take time out from the analyst event to come here and talk to us. And as I said, it's been very interesting these last 15 months watching the evolution of Syncplicity as EMC's really invested into it and kind of doubled down on the mobile game. Yep. Syncplicity's come so far. So congratulations on how far you've come, and thanks again for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.